Good evening, class. My name is Johnson Maxwell, and the purpose of this video is to examine cross-culture communication. And I'm having two friends of mine, Johnny and Krista. Please introduce yourselves, of course.
Ladies first, please.
My name is Krista. I'm originally from Guatemala, Central America, right below Mexico in the map.
Okay. And I am from Dominican Republic, island in the Caribbean, and it's an island.
In the map?
Yeah.
All right. So on to the first question. How do you define culture?
Culture for me would be the combination of beliefs and traditions that kind of make you as an individual.
What about you, Johnny?
I would say culture is that aspect of one's nature as you're growing up that kind of defines you as separate from someone that was not of that culture, that was not of that environment or those principles that are normal for maybe your family.
Okay. Thank you so much for that wonderful definition. So, how do you define family in your culture?
So, family, I would say we have like two separate definitions to kind of go off of. We have those that are family by blood. That never changes. They are your family by birth. But then you also have the family that as you're growing up, you meet them and you develop such a close connection that you can never see them any other way but as family.
Family would be just a building block of society, whatever family might be.
Oh, okay. So, from your perspective, it's a broader, like it covers a lot of people.
Yes.
Okay. So, in your family, who holds the most status and why?
In my immediate family, it would be my father. I think it must have something to do with our religious upbringing and him being the breadwinner for group two.
What about you, Johnny?
So in my immediate family, I would have to say it's my mother. Mainly for us because, she was the one that was there. But even when she was married to my stepfather, like she was kind of the leader of the household while he was more the provider. In my extended family, I would say it's my aunt because she, being the oldest out of 14, she's also seen as the leader, the one that people turn to in the family. So like family meetings, she's in charge.
So, from your perspective, the male sex is the...
Sets the most power. If I were to think about my extended family, my grandfather, when he was alive, was the person that brought the family together and kind of helped everyone make those decisions that they needed to make for life.
So, I tend to believe that English is the second language that both of you speak. So, you have a native language?
Yes.
I do. My mother language is Spanish. That's the language that I learned how to speak. And then at 13, I immigrated to the United States, and then that's when I learned English.
What about you, Johnny?
Spanish was my first language, and I learned English through the American school system.
So, would you teach that to your kids, like your native language?
Of course. I wouldn't think of a lifestyle where my children would speak to their grandmother, my mother, in any language but Spanish.
What about you, Krista? Would you teach your kids your native language?
Definitely. I think it's a language that opens up doors, work-wise and just culturally too. You're welcoming to spaces that you wouldn't otherwise be.
So, what type of food do your culture associate with? Like, do you have a specific type of food? Like, I know there's a variety of food from.
So much food.
Yeah.
So, like, do you have one which you can say this is from my culture? Like,
Yes, mango. So mashed plantains. And the way we prepare it is really simple. It's just my culture is known for like plantains overall. Like we use it for a lot of different meals. You might just boil it, or you could fry it and like mash it and make totones. Like anything with plantains, like my culture is known for.
You're a
Sounds
good cook.
delicious.
Yeah. What about you, Krista?
Well, I think the first one in my mind is tamales, but they're different. They're bigger. They're covered in a plantain leaf, so that kind of gets boiled and gets that flavor. But if I could choose one meal that describes the flavors of Guatemala, it would be pepiano, which is made out of pumpkin seeds, roasted tomatoes, roasted vegetables, even like roasted tortillas. It all gets blended together in a chicken soup, and it tastes like home every time I eat it.
I can smell that food right now. So on to the next questions. Do you have certain rituals that you associate with the culture, like rituals which you perform from time to time that they've never faded away?
That one's a little tough. We do have a few rituals. I know we have folkloric dances, which I actually used to do at a job that I had back in New York. During parades that celebrate our culture, the Dominican Day parades, we used to dance what is called Alibaba, which is our folkloric Dominican dance. We have that. We have certain costumes, things called like Diablo Cajuelos, where they are in a really like kind of frilly outfit and they have like a devil mask and they have a whip and they're cracking it. And growing up, I always used to know that the adults would kind of like, this is something you should fear.
Yeah.
But it was also kind of to make fun and like kind of poke at the evil in a way where it would seem less than it actually is.
So that's the purpose of the costume and the dance, like to communicate something, right?
To, one, exemplify like the dance in our culture, but the costume is supposed to make the evil look less. Like, evil is not as great as it might seem in your mind.
What about you, Krista? Do you have some ritual practices or culture?
There's so many cultural things, but speaking of El Diablo, in December 15, Guatemalans actually celebrate La Quema del Diablo, which means to burn the devil. And the reason why they do that is so that they can burn out the bad spirits and just bad karma that's in their houses. They'll make a piñata in the shape of a diablo, burn that together with trash and kind of do a cleansing before the year ends.
So, the way we have some respectful gestures or respectful deeds, we also have some most disrespectful deeds in different cultures. Like, could you tell us one which, if you do that, then you'd be either most respectful, or if you don't do it, then that's...
Most respectful, I would say, would be asking for your elders' blessings. It's something that is, I would say, kind of a ritual as well, but it is a sign of respect. Basically, when you're leaving the house, or when you're arriving to the house, or when you're greeting someone that's an elder that is either family or close to the family, or, just to show respect, you would say bendición, so like blessings, and they would respond, Dios te bendiga, God bless you. And it's kind of to have your elder's blessing either when you're going out or when you're arriving or just in general.
The idea kind of also relates back to family. It's interesting how big family is. If you ever were to go into a house party, a family gathering, you must always come in and say hello to everyone, acknowledge everyone that's in the room. That's very important. And then when you're ready to leave, again, you must acknowledge everyone and say goodbye.
So what I'm getting from both of you is that communicating using words is more like has a lot of impact, right? But also along with those words, we have some gestures. I've seen Krista using her hands to try. Even when Johnny was speaking about the mashed plantains, you were using it. So, what are some of the gestures which you use to during communication that can portray negativity or some positive communication to other people, and to other people they look at it and be like, no, that's offensive here.
Like you said, I use my hands a lot. It's just a matter of who I am. I'm an expressive person, and that's kind of what we do. But recently, I learned that for Guatemalans, this is a sign of money. I do this, and I was talking to someone about money, like fortune and good things coming. And then someone told me, stop doing that, because if you just turn it slightly, it looks like you're holding a gun.
Okay.
So now I have to do this for money.
What about you, Johnny?
We don't really have that many specific gestures.
Yeah.
It's more so if you see someone like using their hands or really like being physical about how they're expressing themselves,
Yeah.
there's a lot of emotion behind it. And that's when a conversation is probably getting a little heated.
Okay.
So,
On to the second last question. I know, Johnny, you were born here. Chris, you just moved from Guatemala. So what is the best thing about living in the US, Johnny? In terms of culture, that is like, you know.
So I would say it forces, at the very least for my culture, I know it's forced a lot of change on the views that might have at one point been normal. And, you know, I personally don't agree with them, but it was so normal in our culture that we were blind to them. So I remember one example was I was dating this girl in high school that was Salvadorian. And after she had left, I had asked my mom about her, you know, like, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
Like, of course I want my mom to like her.
Yeah.
And my mom kind of started talking bad about her. And it wasn't that she thought the girl was a bad person, but like she started attacking her culture, her ethnicity. And my first thought was, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything about her.
Yeah.
But since then, my mom has kind of like changed her views and realized, you know, that she was kind of closed-minded at that point.
Yeah.
But being in a place where you're exposed to so many cultures, you're forced to reevaluate what was normal when you were just around your own people.
True. What about
Yeah,
you,
if
Chris?
I could elaborate on that.
Yeah.
Our neighbors to the north is Mexico, and as a Guatemalan, you grew up hearing about how, you know, we don't like them, we dislike them. We fought over like geographical land and things like that. And so coming here, in my mind, that's what I had. Oh, Mexicans, the neighbors in the north that stole land. And when I came and immigrated here, I went to live in California, and there's like so many Mexicans over there. And I had to learn to make friends with, with them, and like you start eating their food, and it's amazing food. You start learning about the culture, and it's amazing. So just being in the United States and being exposed to that culture makes you welcome that and kind of break those stereotypes that you grew up with.
So you both agree that learning different cultures will help you communicate better, even in organization,
Definitely.
in social places, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So just to wrap up this video, how would you take culture to be a key to communicate to other cultures?
You need to be aware of it. Different things mean different things. The way you express, like you just said, if you start using your hands too much, maybe I'm fighting you now, right? So you need to be aware of that. You need to know how some people just want to save face in some cultures. And you have to give the person the chance and the opportunity to come to you later, and not, as we are most used to here, of just going directly to the person, but allowing them that space to think and come back.
For me personally, I think it's helped me communicate, being Dominican, because in my culture, it's actually more normal for people to express their emotions and, communicate more directly, as opposed to, being passive aggressive or kind of like beating around the bush. And growing up in the States, I've learned that that's actually normal here. People don't really talk about their emotions, or people don't talk about anything directly. So it just changes your views on how to communicate.
Thank you so much, guys, for availing yourself and sharing your real-life experiences. So to class, the purpose of this video was to show you how communicating through cross cultures is very essential. It doesn't take, it's not easy. You just have to learn what the other culture is all about and the communication cues, the appropriate words to use. So I hope this video was useful to you guys. So enjoy the rest of the class.